What is it like being Jamaican in Spain? Hi, I'm Xavier Murphy, the founder of Jamaicans.com. And today I talk to Anna Strawn Porcar and Kiki Marriott, who both live in Spain. Hi, Anna. Hi, Kiki. How are you doing?
Hi.
Hi. Good.
Very
Good.
well.
Looking forward to this.
Good, good, good. All right. So the first question I have, let's get to it. The first question. Where in Jamaica you're from? And I'm going to start with Anna. Where in Jamaica are you from?
I am from Kingston. Most of my time was spent living in Red Hills.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say St. Andrew and St. Andrew. my parish and my school.
And on that note, you're representing your school, and you are my sister because I went to Jamaica College. And Anna, which school did you go to?
I went to Arden.
Okay. I can't say anything against Arden. My brother went to Arden, and so I have connections to both schools. So let's dive right into it. How did you tell us your story? How you ended up in Spain? And I'm going to start with Kiki. How did you end up in Spain?
Okay, so I did my first degree at university in Jamaica, the University of the West Indies. And then afterwards, I just wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And I applied for scholarships to study a language somewhere. And I ended up going to Madrid for 5 months, which turned into a year. That's a long story. Madrid wasn't great for me because there were a lot of problems with the whole organization that was giving me the scholarship, which was a part of the Spanish government, unfortunately. And so I had problems with my accommodation. I had problems to get my course. Yeah, I had a lot of problems, but I did last a year in Spain and I did learn Spanish. And I was sure that I was never coming back to this country. And what happened was I then went off to the UK to do a master's degree. I went to study at University of Leicester and I did an MA in mass communications. And the first day of my course, we were having tea with the mayor of Leicester, all the international students, and the mayor of Leicester says to me, "Oh, you're doing the MA in mass communications. There is a boy from Spain who I'd like to introduce you to." And well, this ended up being my husband, but I met him, and the first time we spoke was in front of the mayor, and then afterwards, I went up to him and I started speaking to him in Spanish on the steps of the, one of the buildings at the university. We were going into dinner, and he said to me, "I'm not Spanish, I'm Catalan," and so it was kind of like, "No, don't speak to me in Spanish," and I was like, "Okay." And I said, "Well, but I thought I would like to practice my Spanish because I just lived a year in Madrid and, it's great to," and he said, "No, well, I'm not here to speak Spanish. I'm here to learn English." So I said, "Right, you and me are not going to be friends." And so here we are 26 years later and 21-year-old twins.
So I'm going to go get to you in a minute. I want people to understand that you touched on a point, and we don't want to dive too deep into it because it can start an actual deeper discussion, very deep. But I want people to understand there is a couple regions in Spain, and there is the Catalan language, I believe, right? And which is still there. I won't get into how it's recognized and how it's not recognized. I'm going to leave that alone. But that is what Kiki was talking about. Did I get it right, Kiki?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So Anna, your story. Tell us your story.
Well, how did I end up in Spain? I met my husband 5 years ago in Jamaica at a soca party by Rockfort Mineral Bath. And we went on a date 2 days later, and he passed all my tests, and so did I. And now we are here because he's studying a 2-year degree program in Barcelona. And we decided that it would be a good idea to come back home, especially because of the pandemic and because financially it would serve us well to be with his parents and to save money as he studies. And since we have a newborn, it's the best time to be with family anyway. So
Okay. So I'm going to get a little nosy here now. So what brought him to Jamaica?
Work. He finished his master's in civil engineering and went to I forget one of those Eastern European countries to work for a year, and then he applied for jobs all over the world and got offers in Mexico and Jamaica, and decided at the airport to go to Jamaica. And so we met each other at his 3-year anniversary of being in Jamaica.
Oh,
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so then because and for everyone, right before we started, I met your husband before you started. Right? I hear you said something to him in patois, and he practically understands.
Yes. He speaks Jamaican. He's been there for 8 years, actually, before we left. 7-8 years before we left.
Oh, so he speaks patois too.
Absolutely. He works in construction in Jamaica. He has had to speak our language in order to communicate with authorities, or they would treat him differently if he didn't know what they were about. So, yeah.
That's very interesting. That's very and again, we could go into this language, and I like you say it's a language. I also believe it's a language, but then that's another debate.
Well, I also think he embraced Jamaican because he's Catalan and he understands how connected people can be with their language and how much of a part of them it is. So he embraced our language, and I'm grateful.
That's a very interesting discussion because there's nothing as colorful as the language we use. There's just certain words when you say it, it brings I don't know how to say it. It's like it puts it all together. It just puts it all together.
It makes your heart sing.
Exactly. Yeah. So while we're on languages, so Kiki, I believe you're fluent
in both Spanish and Catalan. Yeah.
And you, Anna?
Not at all. I only speak English and Jamaican. So I am bilingual. However, I've got a long way to go where it comes to Catalan, and I'm only beginner level Spanish.
No, that's not true. You're more than beginner level. You understand a lot, Anna.
I do understand a lot more than I can say. That is true.
Well, that is a start. They say if you start to dream in the language, you're there.
Yes. I look forward to that dream.
Kiki, you dream in a language yet?
I dream in all languages. It depends on who I'm talking to in the dream, and sometimes I speak in a it might depend on what I was listening to on the radio before I fell asleep. Language is a funny thing because in our house we have 3 languages between the 4 of us, my husband and the children. And so generally I speak to my children in English and they answer me in English. Their father speaks to them in Catalan and they answer him in Catalan. But Xavi and I switch back and forth between English and Catalan. And the children switch back and forth between Catalan, English, and Spanish. So people tend to see us like on a bus or a train. If the 4 of us are sitting together and we're having conversations and we're switching all the time, they look at us like we're crazy people.
Because you're speaking these different things.
Yeah, it depends. If we're talking about a show that we watched on Netflix in English, then it's natural that we're going to speak about it in English. But if we're talking about Spanish politics, then maybe we'll switch to Spanish. But if we're talking about something to do with Catalan culture, then it will be Catalan. So, it's the moment and the subject and whatever.
So I'm going to talk a little bit. We just got into, people looking at you. Let's talk about the people in Spain. Tell us about the people that you encounter and are they warm? They take a while to warm up. What's the culture like for the people? Give us a little bit about the people. I'll start with you, Anna. If you could tell us your experience with the people in where you are in Spain.
Well, I have had very good experiences with Spaniards here. I have very few Spanish friends, but when I do travel into the city, into the cafes or the restaurants, I'm always treated with respect. In fact, many of them speak English. So I have never had a problem communicating, even in the restaurants. When I go to a concert, maybe at Liceu, if they don't respond to me in English, they've understood my English, and then we can communicate. So I've had very good experiences. Just seeing things from afar, there was an unfortunate experience with blackface that I saw at a local small town celebration, carnival celebration. And I do think that was ignorance. But other than that, the people have been very welcoming, especially my family. They've also been to Jamaica. So they've met some of my family. And I love Spain from that perspective.
Good. Kiki?
Well, I mean, I've been here now for 26 years and I've practically gone native. I can't, at the moment, I can't imagine moving from here to go live anywhere else. I love it here. And the people, for me, I feel very much at home in Spain. The people are, I would say perhaps in the south of Spain, people are more kind of in your face, kind of. Catalan people tend to be a bit more reserved, but they are very genuine. So, they will, you'll meet them and they'll be a little reserved at first, and then you start talking and you get to know people. And when they welcome you into their home, it's like you've made it. They invite you home for dinner or something. It's like you are going to be their friend, because they don't do that easily. So I've made a lot of friends over the years, and they're good people. They're good. I think it's a good society for someone from outside, especially here, because I'm living in a big city. Lots of people from all over the world, a lot of respect for different cultures. My children have not encountered. I mean, once I remember there was one boy at school who said something racist to my son, and my son didn't say anything, but his friend went and told the teacher, and that boy got suspended for a week. And the parents were brought in for a big conversation and what have you. So, I mean, it didn't bother my son, but it was not tolerated.
Right. And I visited, and you were my gracious host. By the way, folks, we are twins. My wife's name is Karen. Even though you see Kiki on the screen, her name is Karen. And she said Javi for her husband. Her husband's name is actually Xavier, like me. So Kiki and I are twins, and they got married the same year. We got married. But my visit there, it was you guys were very gracious. We spent a short time there, and I absolutely we were in where you are, Barcelona. And we absolutely loved the visit there, and would have to come back. Now, the thing definitely. I did not really get into when I was there, which I'm going to ask you all about, is, we talk about people, now we have to talk about the food. And I'm going to start with you, Anna. Tell us the one thing that you got there and you said, you know what, man, this is absolutely delicious. And if I or someone was to visit, you got to try this. So tell us what.
So many things in Barcelona that deserve, you got to try this. There's hamon. Obviously, there's paella. There's fuet.
Okay. All right. So you say hamon, right?
Yeah.
I don't want. The first thing that come to mind now is ham and corn. So you got to explain
So
what
sorry.
hamon. You got to explain what hamon is because
That probably was the first thing that came to my mind too, but Jamon, and it's ham, Spanish ham, but it's cured, and it can be cured for months or years, and that obviously affects the taste. So it's raw, but it tastes good. It tastes good. It tastes good. I know we're not supposed to eat raw meat, but it's not raw. It's cured. It's so good. There's fuet, which is also meat. There's paella, but I have to say I am allergic to shellfish. And Spain has such a variety of food from the sea that they do in every way, shape, and form. The food pretty. The food is so pretty. So I know it's good. And I mean, if you go in the fancy restaurants, they are never empty. So I'm missing out, honestly, because I can't eat not even half, 3/4 of the food. But what I can have, I mean, comparison with Spain and food, there is none. And I love Jamaican food. I miss Jamaican food all the while. But there's a Spain food. The food here is just
good. So Kiki, as a vet here who has been here, you have probably gone to a couple regions.
Yeah, definitely.
That Kiki's husband and Kiki herself are excellent cooks. So,
especially my husband. Yeah. His family, they're all about food, and my mother-in-law is an amazing chef, really. And Xavi started cooking really when he left home, because when he was at home, he was never required to cook and he was never invited into the kitchen. So it was when he was away at university that he started missing home-cooked meals, and then he would call his sisters and ask them for recipes. And, way before YouTube. So that was when he started cooking, and he's just got better and better over the years. And then when I was pregnant, I had very bad morning sickness with twins. So I stopped cooking for a few months, and then I was breastfeeding and I was exhausted all the time. So I kept on not cooking, and Xavi just came into his own. So he goes to the market every week. Sometimes I go with him. He buys all this wonderful, fresh seafood, and he cooks all these amazing dishes, and he's always looking for new recipes. So we're never repeating dishes, and it's always new stuff. And we love trying out new things. So, I mean, yes, talk about the paella, talk about the shellfish, talk about, all those things. But I'm going to tell you that my favorite food, and you can, ask anyone who knows me, I love artichokes. And that is one thing that I would miss if I left Spain, because I've not found artichokes like the ones I've found here in any country except Italy. And let me tell you, Italy is a country that knows how to respect an artichoke. So we have many different ways of cooking artichokes, but I love them just roasted in the oven. And my mother-in-law gave me the recipe, which was just with a little bit of vinegar and oil and some spices and herbs. And guess what? I tweaked her recipe and I added soy sauce. So
the secret's out.
But guess what? She has put soy sauce in her artichokes now a few times. And there's also this vegetable called a calçote, which is actually a special kind of onion that is pulled out of the ground progressively while it's growing. So they're pulling it out little by little, day by day, week by week. And so what you get is something that looks like a leek, but it's not a leek, it's an onion. And then you go into the countryside, or you come to my roof, and you do a big fire and you roast these onions in the fire. And then you have them in a sauce called romesco sauce, which is made with almonds, hazelnuts, tomato, onion, wine, vinegar, what else? Sweet pepper. And it's absolutely delicious. So you have these hot roasted long onions. You pull off the skin, your hands get really black, then you dip it in the sauce and eat it like that. And it's only during the autumn going into the spring. So it's a special kind of party when you do that. And generally people go out to the country, they go out to country restaurants, or if they have like someone has a home out in the country, they might go there and you do that. It's a whole ritual. And I love that.
Great.
We do it we live in the center of Barcelona, but we do it up on our roof when friends come over.
Yes, I saw your garden, on your roof. So.
My cactus garden. Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you this, because since we're on food, what's the Jamaican food? And I know, Kiki, you're a chef, so you probably get around to doing what you need to do, but there must be something that you miss. Tell me something that you miss, the Jamaican food you miss.
Breadfruit.
Kiki.
Breadfruit. Because I can't get that here. I have friends come from London, they bring bami for me. I have friends come from the US, come from Jamaica, they bring ackee. But breadfruit, I have one dear friend who a couple of times has crossed the Atlantic with a frozen breadfruit and it made it all the way to me. But
so there's no African store or
loads, but they don't have breadfruit. Believe me, I've been 26 years searching for it.
What about you, Anna?
I don't think I've been away from home to miss anything too much. Just now I'm trying to cook Christmas cake and I can't find brownie. So I have to make brownie from scratch.
So you have to be burning the sugar.
Yes. But that's it. We found sorrel. We found the wine and the rums. So is it just a brownie I can't find?
Okay, that's a good thing there, that you can find most of the ingredients.
Oh yes.
Yeah, you can get everything now.
Really, you can. It's such an international city, Barcelona. It really is.
Good.
But it has its culture, which is great.
Yeah.
Very Catalan, very Spanish. Yet, as someone from outside their borders, you can find your niche.
Mm-hmm. Good. And Anna and I last year made bami once.
Yes.
Oh. From scratch.
And how did it turn out?
Well, it didn't look great, but it was good.
We ate
it. You just have to make do with what you have, I guess. You know, there's a lady that we had featured before, and she was making patties. And when she showed the pictures, I'm like, listen, you need to open a patty shop there. She was in tonight. I'm like, listen, you need to open a patty shop. So you never know.
Bad idea.
So I'm gonna ask you about the being Jamaican there. When somebody realizes that you're Jamaican, you know, there's typically either the questions about different things, some stereotypical, some not, or the red carpet roll out, or it depends, you know. So tell me about one of those experiences where somebody realized you're Jamaican and what happens. And I want to start with you, Anna.
Oh gosh. I've only spent 8 months here last year and then went back home, and now I've been here for 4 months. I actually don't have I haven't interacted because of the pandemic.
Yes.
And then I was pregnant. So gosh, has anyone, no, just family, friends, and then we've just gone into where Jamaica is, what our official language is, and then that leads into the language conversation and and how we're fighting for Jamaican to be official inside English. So that's the only thing I can reference.
All right. Kiki?
I would say, in the old days, it used to be, when I say old days, because I go way back, because remember, I've been here for like 26 years, and then I lived that year in Madrid even before that. So in the early days, it was, oh, Jamaica, Bob Marley, and then people would start singing, One Love or something like that. But now when you say Jamaica, people give you the Usain Bolt pose, and so, but Jamaica is very much a brand now. And if you go into Las Ramblas in Barcelona and you walk along and you see the kiosks with all the magazines and the newspapers and the tourist souvenirs, you'll find T-shirts that say Jamaica and Brazil. It's a brand. It's just everybody thinks Jamaica is cool. And I see people in hoodies that say Jamaica all the time. Like if I had €1 for every person that passed by me on the street wearing a Jamaica T-shirt or a Jamaica hoodie, I'd be rich. So really, when people hear that you're from Jamaica, sometimes people go, "Oh, what? You're really from Jamaica?" Like, they think, "Oh, maybe she's from Britain," because a lot of British people, like second generation Jamaicans and stuff. No, really from Jamaica, off the boat. and then they just think it's cool. They just think there's like this whole cool vibe about Jamaica, which is why there are all these young boys wearing hoodies that say Jamaica on them, and they've never been there. And then they'll say, "Oh, I really want to go." And they don't know that much about Jamaica, to be honest. But I have to say that that first year that I lived in Madrid, I was staying in a university residence, and it was all people from different parts of the world. And there were a few Spanish people from other regions of Spain. So I met people from all over Spain, but not from Madrid, because obviously the people from Madrid were living at home and going to the faculty from home. And there was one guy from the Canary Islands, and somehow this guy, we had such a great vibe and he kept saying to me, "It's because you're an Isleña and I'm an Isleño." And, and he always said that to me and the other Jamaican girls. And I said, but you're Spanish, you're not an island person. And I'm like, anyway, we in Jamaica, we have this idea that Jamaica is this massive, massive island. And it is not. And so that was something that struck me much, much later on, after I had been to Sicily and Mallorca. And then, you take off from Sicily and you look down and you see the island. You're on the plane and you see the whole of the island. And I say, "Wow, isn't it great when you take off and then you can see the whole island?" Then suddenly it struck me as like, "Well, hang on, when you leave Jamaica, you can do that." And I thought, let me look at the map. And so I went home and I'm looking at these islands that we consider to be really small islands. And Jamaica is just a smidgen bigger than them. And I realized that, Jamaica, because also in terms of cultural importance, because of people like Louise Bennett and Bob Marley and Usain Bolt and all these people have this impression that Jamaica is, first of all, people say to me all the time, because I say, "Well, Jamaica's a poor country." They go, "No, Jamaica's not poor." And I'm like, "Yes, it is. It's a poor country. It's a third world country." And then they also have this impression that Jamaica is like, I don't know, it must be bigger because you couldn't produce so many athletes and you couldn't produce a team that went to the World Cup with such a tiny population. And so, yes, I have come to embrace my small islandness. And then I've been on holiday in Mallorca and Menorca, which are close to Catalonia, and they also speak a variant of Catalan. And it's so funny to me because when I'm there, I'm at the beach in Binibeca, white sand, music, Bob Marley music blaring from the beach bar. And then the waiter comes and the waiter speaks to us, and he's speaking the Mallorcan variant of Catalan, which to me sounds like a Jamaican speaking English, this kind of lilting flow. And then I'm like, my God, I am an island girl, and I do come from a small island, and I've learned to embrace that about myself.
Well, you are, there was so much you put in there in that part, Don't I was like this. Don't tell us that. We believe that the Caribbean is Jamaica. That's what we believe.
Jamaica and company.
And it's funny because it's funny because wherever people ask you out of the question and say, "Oh, I'm from the Caribbean," or they only think of, Jamaica, and they may think of the Bahamas and Haiti, just a couple places. And there's so much more, so much, rich places, so much shared culture, so much different cultures that are there. Which is totally amazing. But I'll save that for we'll save that one for another show. and we will be venturing this show with some of the folks that have moved to Caribbean islands. So folks know, which kind of move out to Europe and Africa and so on. We have moved to the Caribbean also. But I'm going to ask you about music, because you kind of touched on music a little bit there. And do you hear reggae? Do you hear
all the time?
Absolutely, all the time.
Wow.
All the time.
All the time. On the radio, all the time.
When you go into bars, shops, everywhere.
Oh,
and
wow.
plus, reggaeton is huge here. Reggaeton, that's all the young people listen to.
And it would be interested to know if they know the history of reggaeton.
Yeah,
and
they do.
And where it comes from.
Yeah, they do. And I mean, come on, there's a Catalan singer. She does a kind of what do they call it now? Trap. She calls herself Bad Gal. That's her stage name, Bad Gal. And I mean, a lot of the musicians here have gone on a pilgrimage to Jamaica and have played in studios there and have, spent time learning about reggae from the masters. There is a huge respect for Jamaican music here. Huge.
Wow. That's good to know. That's good to know. Questions. I'm winding down. My question is this: if there was something or an experience, an attraction, and I know somewhat of a challenge, pandemic, COVID times, and maybe Kiki, you can give us some insight on this, being the vet here. But what's an experience or something that you'd say you must see, you have to see? And you and I kind of talked a little bit about some of that before, but what's an experience? And it can be a couple experiences, must see, that is just amazing.
Okay, so the typical tourist things to do are great. Go to the Sagrada Familia, which is Gaudi's huge cathedral in the middle of the city, and it's just beautiful and it blows your mind. There's so much detail.
Made me
or
cry.
if you love football, go to see a match at Camp Nou. I mean, nothing better. Amazing stadium. But for me, the number one experience that I try and get everyone who comes here to do is to go and see castells. Those are the human towers, and that is the most Catalan thing that you could do. It's actually a sport. So you have...
So wait. Human towers.
Human towers, yeah. Okay, so
okay,
it's an actual sport. Now, this began like over 100 years ago out in the farming country. They have these traditional dances, like they beat sticks and they do all these traditional things. But they started building towers where humans would kind of get into circles, and then they would get on top of each other and stand on each other's backs and then stand on another level and another level. And so it's become a tradition that they have an association that's like FIFA, and they have a tournament that runs all year. And so they have like local days. So it coincides usually with the patron saints festival day for each town. And you have certain towns that have had their Colla de Castellers. So it's like their human tower building group. And the groups typically have like, you wouldn't start a group if you didn't have like 60 or 70 people, because you need a lot of people to do it. You need people to go up in all those layers, and then you need people at the bottom just to hold them all together.
And how many layers are you talking about?
Okay, so the world record now is like 10. And it's the most emotional experience to watch them do these castells.
It's amazing. I haven't seen it live, but
yeah, Anna's not had
the very end. A tiny little girl or boy climbing
up
these people, and you're hoping nothing happens to this little girl or boy, and she goes to the very top, and you're like, what?
And sometimes they fall. Sometimes the whole thing falls apart. And people get injured.
It works.
But it is just like the most emotional buzz. And the thing about the Collas de Castellers, it's something that really unites people, because you have to trust people when you're standing on them.
Absolutely.
And when they're standing on you. And these are big groups of people. You have whole families that have been doing it for generations, but you also have people that just arrived in Catalonia and want to make friends. And they go along to this Colla, and they have people of all ages, all sizes, all shapes, all colors, because at the bottom you need big, strong guys, because they're gonna have seven layers of people on their shoulders, and then you have people that just go and stand at the back and press their backs to help them, support them.
So have you been invited to one of these?
No, I've been invited, but there's no way I'm doing that. No way. No. I have a few friends who have done it in their time, and they've generally left it because, first of all, it takes a big commitment because you have to practice a few times a week, and then at weekends you usually have the tournaments. And I've also had friends who've been injured, like, after a dislocated shoulder or two, you're like, yeah, okay, maybe it's not worth it. But they really are very good about safety. And now the children that go right up to the top have to wear helmets.
I see.
I won't tell you why, but
so Anna, you've been there. Said, I know you've been there pre-pandemic, so you've kind of seen things. So what would you say is something that you totally it could be an attraction, it could be an experience that you enjoyed?
Well, Kiki mentioned the Sagrada Familia. It's really great. I cried the first time I visited. I've been to the Opera House because that's part of my profession, watching these performances. And the Bucaria, it's a market, but there's so much diversity in product there. It's a must-see. But also I visited the south of Spain. I went to Granada, Cordoba, and Sevilla. And I think those places are worth the visit. You get to understand the history of Spain and how much influence the Moors had on Spain in the early years. And then go watch a flamenco show, because that also has a variety and the combination of music. So I think the south of Spain is worth your time too.
Definitely. And another thing, don't come to Catalonia and expect to see flamenco, because it's not from here. If you come to Catalonia, come to see Castells.
So the flamenco, now, what's the difference in these dance? What is it? The dance, right? Let me make sure I have it right.
Dance and music.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think I may have seen one, but I have to go back because maybe I don't know the difference between which one is which.
What's that instrument, Kiki, that they use?
The castanets. The castanets.
And it's such a sensual kind of performance. There's guitar. There's I don't know this kind of instrument, but it looks like a drum.
It's a box.
What is
La caja. It's a box.
That. And the singing is so earthy and powerful. I am mesmerized by flamenco. I absolutely love the dancing, the heavy footing. It's like tap on steroids, and it's more than that, obviously. But that's the sound you get when the heel is hitting, obviously, and it's sensual, and it's a mix of Spanish, Romani, African. I love it.
Good. I think I've seen it, but I have to go back because I did visit Spain. Was it last year or the year before? My wife had a trip there for work, and I tag along. I was the bag person, so I tagged along. and again, I'm trying to figure out directions because we did go to Morocco. So we're south then. Okay.
So that was the best place for flamenco. Yeah.
Okay, so then that's what I saw. It was amazing. It was an amazing dance. You had a young boy involved, and the ladies were, really. Yes. So I believe I saw it, and it was great. It was really good. They were really into this performance, and I mean, you can see the attachment and so on. So great. All right. So winding down. Last question. If someone was thinking of moving to Spain, what would be that one piece of advice that you'd give to them? I'm starting with you, Anna, and then we'll get the vet to give us.
Well, I'm in a transition period, so with my headspace right now, I would say they should always remember their why they moved to Spain. And so when it gets melancholy, sometimes you miss your family, you miss home. I don't know if it's a pandemic, but I'm here with a newborn and my husband is full-time in school and I'm outside the city of Barcelona, and it can get a lot. So just remember your why, but also just go for it. Really go for it. You're in a new country. Just go for it. Involve yourself in as many experiences as possible. Eat, 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 and eat some more.
All right. Good advice there, Kiki.
Yeah. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. I think you have to kind of not go with preconceived notions and embrace what you find. But I think that will put you in good stead for wherever you go in the world. But I found, for example, some people who have moved here because Barcelona, it's a great city. Everybody knows about Barcelona. The Olympics were here. It's quite a glamorous place to visit. But they come here and then they're like, but the people don't speak Spanish. I don't want to learn Catalan. And you say, well, why don't you want to learn Catalan? Oh, because Spanish is more useful. And I'm like, yeah, but you're here now. So nobody's saying you can't use Spanish. And in fact, most foreigners who come here and don't plan to stay here don't bother to learn Catalan. But when you do learn Catalan and you go somewhere and you speak to people in Catalan, they start a conversation with you, which they wouldn't have done if you spoke to them in Spanish, because they realize that you have a respect for their culture and they love it. And so it has opened a huge amount of doors for me in many ways, including work-wise and friendships. And I just think whenever you go to a new culture, you have to embrace the things that those people love about themselves. And so if speaking another language is what it takes, then do that. Eating their food, do that.
Yeah, I agree with you, Kiki.
There's so much. There's the culture here is so rich. There's so many different places in Spain. And, so here in Catalonia, you have Catalan culture. Then in the Basque country, it's completely different. They speak another language. In Galicia, they speak Gallego, which is closer to Portuguese. And they have a whole different culture. So, I mean, even the way that we observe Christmas is very different in all the regions.
Oh, no, I did have that final question here, but that's interesting. How do they celebrate Christmas differently?
Well, here in Catalonia, to be honest, no, this is the one thing that I still find a little difficult to stomach about Catalan culture. It's very scatological.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of poop involved in the Christmas celebration. And so
they have a log.
I brought this prop. This is the log. This is the log. Okay, this is a tiny version of it, but it's actually it's actually a piece of a tree. But you have to imagine that this is just a little one that you could put on your shelf as a decoration. The real tree trunk is a real tree trunk.
Real tree trunk.
Paint a face on it and they put the hat on it, and then they put like a blanket over it and they leave it
to be warm.
They leave it in their main room, and then every night the children bring nuts and fruits and leave it in front of the tío. And during the night, the tío eats the nuts and the fruit, and the tío gets fatter and fatter. And then on Christmas Eve, the children get sticks and they beat him up. Okay?
To get the toys.
To get the toys and the presents. And they have a song that they sing, and it says, poop, poop, tío, poop out the toys, poop out the presents. And I've never had one in my house. Okay, I bought this afternoon for the purpose of this. This is the first time a tío has come into my house. It will not stay here for very long.
Well, we have one in our home.
You have one?
My son has one to play with.
Okay, this is another Catalan tradition. Okay, this is the crapper. Okay, so the crapper, you have a nativity scene. All right, this is the crapper from the front. This is the crapper from behind.
That's
Okay.
cool.
Wait. So this is a part of Christmas?
It's a part
That's
of Christmas. It's
Put
in
the
your
nativity scene beside
in your
Jesus.
it's in your nativity scene. Now, when I first saw it, I was just like, "What is that?" And my husband said something like, "It's because we want people to understand that Christmas is real, and therefore we have to put something like that to represent that at the moment that Jesus was born, somebody was actually taking a crap somewhere. So this figure is called the crapper."
Basically, don't take yourself too seriously.
That too. And then, the scholars in Catalan history will tell you that it has to do with fertility and that it's supposed to bring good luck to a household. So in every nativity scene in Catalonia, there will be a crapper. And that is something that we have had in our nativity scene.
The Christmas market, Kiki. What's at the Christmas market, Kiki?
Crappers. Yeah. And I tell you one more story. The year that my children were born, they're November babies. So at Christmas on Boxing Day, which here we celebrate St. Stephen's Day, all the family came to my house for lunch. So we had 18 people here, big upheaval to put tables in the living room and what have you, sofa on its end in the corner and all the rest of it. And I've been up all night basting a turkey, I think. Anyway, my mother-in-law arrives, and my mother-in-law is a very elegant uptown lady. She says, "Kiki, I have a special present for you." And I said, "Really?" She has it all wrapped up in this beautiful box. So ribbon and everything, I opened the box. And when I opened the box, inside the box was a little blue nappy and a little pink nappy. And inside each nappy was a turd, but a very accurately represented turd made of chocolate. And I was just speechless. But that's Catalan people for you. They think poop is funny.
It's in almost all their jokes.
Okay, so
and that proper, they have celebrity versions.
That's right.
They have prime ministers, presidents. So you can buy anybody.
Bob Marley, you can find a Bob Marley crapper.
Yes.
I learned something
culture
totally new today. And I don't know how I'm going to unsee what I just saw. And I don't know how I'm going to erase this particular memory, but yeah, interesting. On that note, I want to say, ladies, thank you very much for telling our viewers, telling your story on Spain and how you got there. I mean, really great information. Really, really good information, I should say. I typically close out this way. Anyone, do you have any final thoughts, any final words?
Well, thank you for having me. I miss Jamaica. I miss Jamaica so much. I miss my family. I miss our language. I miss our code. But traveling is important.
Yes.
And, spending time outside of the tourist experience is important. We always advocate for that in Jamaica, actually. We say tourists don't know the real Jamaica when they go to a resort and stay. We love when a tourist does their best to speak our language. So it's the same thing here. Just reciprocate. Traveling is amazing. I'm grateful for the opportunities here, the health care.
Thank you. Any closing thoughts?
I don't know. I mean, this is home for me. I mean, obviously, I miss Jamaica. I miss my family. I miss my friends. But this is very much home for me. And there's a Catalan musician he's world famous, and he says, "Home is where your children eat." And I think we, as Jamaicans, we understand that very much because we are people. My father used to say Jamaicans are like salt. I mean everything. So
and they're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
And we have a Jamaican community over here as well. I have to say, Kiki has been a huge support. Huge support. I mean, Kiki is an awesome Jamaican. She's an awesome Jamaican now. She's
Jamaican. That was a word that my father coined to talk about my children. And I think it's great when you can draw on different cultures because, I always said to my children, well, you never lived in Jamaica, so you're not really Jamaican. So my daughter goes around the world telling people I'm European and Caribbean.
An identity. So I'm going to close on this note. How do you say bye-bye? And the most informal. I want to be like the most informal way of saying bye-bye. I think in Spanish, it's adios in Spanish, but I want to do Catalan today.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to teach me how to say it informally in Catalan. And that's how we're going to end.
Well, I say
adeu. Adeu.
Adeu.
Adeu.
Adeu.
Adeu.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Ladies. Adeu.
Adeu.
Show some love now. Hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell. That way you don't miss a video.